Hey friends, welcome back to Gentleman's Journey. Guys, in this one, we're talking about the Beckett Simonon Chelsea boot. Now guys, this is the Silva. They got a couple different options there in terms of the Chelsea, and I've been so excited to get this one out. Now friends, I've been emailing back and forth with them. They did reach out to me. I want to let you guys know that right away, but been working through this for a while. They sent me these boots out to review. Just like I always tell you guys, I never get backed into the corner or, have a script provided for me. So we're gonna definitely go through this boot and talk about the good, the bad. We're gonna talk about the build quality, the construction. We're gonna talk a bit about the company, and then we'll get into the fit and the sizing. So if Chelsea boots are your style, or if this particular boot, the Silva, is something you've been looking at, make sure and stick around for that. In the end, we always take our boots out on a little adventure. So, of course, I do a 1-year review on all this stuff. So if you'll subscribe and stick around for that, you can see how they perform later. It's a bit of an unboxing and just talking about the nuts and bolts, but we're certainly gonna take it out on a fun adventure. So guys, let's get into talking about the company a little bit as I open these up. Now, I don't always do unboxings, but they're very special here. They give you a bag for each boot, and I always appreciate the little attention to detail. Of course, as a consumer, you imagine that everything a company adds in, because I own a company myself, a couple businesses, someone's paying for it. So ultimately, it's something that's really special that they do, but obviously the cost is going to come back to the consumer. So they got that, an extra footbed there, and then they went ahead and added some of their pamphlets. Obviously, I've been into these a little bit. I just want to show you guys kind of how they get to me. This particular boot, thanks for your purchase. I hope you enjoy your shoes, Oscar, head of production. And then another little pamphlet. Now, I read that to you because I want to start off talking a bit about the company. And these attention to detail, I think, is what makes Beckett and Simonon a special company to work with. Again, I've been talking to them on the back end, if you will, talking to them, emailing, and it's just been a joy working with them. So I can imagine the customer experience is the exact same. Now, this company is based out of Bogota, Colombia, and they employ quite a bit of people, and through their finding all their raw materials to all the places they source, they said that they provide for about 130 something people. So how cool just to think that you can go out and start a business, see it grow, and then know that you're putting food on the table, you're paying for education. I mean, by the business that you created, you're providing money for 130 some people. So pretty neat company there. Now guys, something I noticed right away with that is they'll have a little bit of personal experience. Something you'll see probably coming up these days. If you buy a set of cherry tomatoes, we'll say, it might say who picked them and have a little detail on that. You're starting to see more of this worked into because consumers are wanting to know a little bit more about who they're buying from, and customers, are asking these kind of questions. However, it's coming top down as well from the big corporations. Something I noticed when I started looking up Beckett and Simonon is that they're part of the Certified B Corporation. Now that I looked into a little bit, the more you look into it, they have standards and you have to meet certain qualifications. It's a couple-year process to get approved, and essentially this B Corporation standard, whoever's overseeing that, make sure that you tick certain boxes. What that's going to do, it's going to make sure that you're getting like fair trade coffee, if you will. They're employing people that are treated fairly, treated respectfully, and have dignity. So they also talk about diversity and all kinds of different things going on there. And so it's really interesting. I'm digging into that. So as I look into that, you see how many hours per week on the website that the employees work, how much vacation time they have, how much time they have maternity leave. I haven't seen a company go into such great detail. So that was really interesting, especially from a boot company, because sometimes you buy a product because it's a good product. What am I buying? What am I getting? And you base it on maybe the materials. But now we're seeing some of this worked in. So I just wanted to not harp on that too long, but tell you guys a little bit about that. The fear I have with that and with other things that you're seeing coming up is leaning towards virtue signaling. And you just got to be cautious that all that is true, and who's doing the certification, and can you trust that bigger company certifying. And my fear, friends, I'll tell you, is just this one world government. As you see, everybody gets an opinion on what you're doing in your country, in your nation, and it's globalizing. And as a Christian, some of these things kind of concern me and make me think that maybe we're heading closer into the end times. I'd love to unpack that more. If you guys have any questions, we can talk about that in the comments, but definitely you're here to get into these boots. So let's get into that. But as I can see, friends, a lot of good stuff coming out of that B Corporation, and the way, they talked about the employers are able to bike to work, and they talk a lot about their carbon footprint and stuff like that. Again, without harping on it too much, my concern is these outside entities having control over your company, or moving into a sector where that might be forced upon us to be in that. And if you don't check off all these boxes, then maybe you won't be able to have a company someday. So I appreciate all that. Now, like I said, let's get into these boots. So the way that Beckett and Simonon markets his boot is a reimagined waterproof Chelsea boot. Now, that was certainly interesting to me. Again, if you've watched the channel a bit, you'll know that I'm crazy about something that has a chunky lug outsole that can work, that can handle my travel, adventure lifestyle. I'm over here at a state park at a picnic table right now, so I need these things to hike trails, to do all kinds of stuff. So the waterproof, that's why I went towards this boot, because of course, like I said, they have some other models with more of a dressier look, even more slender profile and whatnot. So that's what they're saying, is this thing is going to be ready for situations where you need a waterproof boot, and you see that built into it. Looking top down, it has dual pull tabs, and that's because you're really supposed to spread it a bit and get your foot down in there. So I really appreciate when they have two and not just one on the back, at least when we're talking about a Chelsea boot. Now, moving down, we can't help but notice, obviously I went with the black leather. So they're saying that this is a waterproof leather, and the way that they do their tanning process is they emulsify waxes and then they shove them in there. So it sounds a lot like a Chrome Excel leather. This stuff has waterproof properties built into the waxes that they put in it, but then they finish it with a carbonara wax. And so this thing's ready to go right out the gate. I always tell you guys that you can go ahead and waterproof spray your brand new boots, and just the same with these. It wouldn't hurt it one bit just to hit it. I always talk about the Cobbler's Choice waterproof spray, so you can feel free to cruise along the top of that. But this is a full grain leather, and so everything that I'm hearing about it as my research goes on, it's a tough boot. It can handle scratches, and that's again what led me to this boot, is because I want something I can kick around and that it's not just going to get destroyed right away. Now the stitching, guys, is the next thing that we'll start noticing as we look along the boot. And a Chelsea boot, you're not going to find a ton of stitching, but at any rate, it was interesting to me because I've been used to reviewing a bunch of Pacific Northwest style work boots, and the thread is quite a bit bigger on those. So you start looking and it looks small, but they have this locking mechanism that they do with the thread there. So apparently if one stitch tears, the next one's not going to pull out, and it's not just going to work its way down through the boot. And it's also waxed thread, so that's going to help with that waterproofing as well. Down the elastic, the inside of the elastic is what you'd picture a lot of like your Blundstones or something like that. But what they do is they put this pebbled leather on the outside, so it has a really dressy look to it, but it's still able to give that flex that it needs. So I thought that was pretty neat. Moving to the inside real quick, guys, you'll see this kind of leather lining at the top. It only goes down about an inch there, and then moving down into the inside, there's a bit of a fabric lining. So it's really comfortable. They say it's breathable, and that itself adds to the waterproof properties. And then it does have, like I was telling you, it comes with extra footbed there, little insole, but it has its own. Let's see if I can get it out. So it has its own insole, and that is a foam with some leather on top. And this was really comfortable. And then again, on the midsole going through the middle, it's gonna have a steel shank. Now that's gonna give you a little bit of arch support. It doesn't go all the way, so you still have some toe spring there, but it's gonna give you the arch support. And obviously, if you're going through an airport, you're gonna wanna remember that. So the midsole does have a bit of that memory foam footbed in it. So what they say is it's gonna fit and wear kind of like a boot with a leather midsole would. Again, guys, that's why I want you to stick around for a 1-year review so we can see how the midsole on this is. Something that this boot has that it boasts is it's extremely lightweight. And part of that you're gonna see is from the outsole. But even the midsole, you know, we're used to these stacked leather heels, leather midsole, even you can get sometimes a double midsole through there. So you can get a lot of leather going through the middle that's gonna add to that bulk and that weight. This is that memory cell foam, if you will. And I don't know about it molding too much, but we'll talk about that in the 1-year review as well. Coming back out to the outside, let's talk about this welt. So this is a Blake stitch, and friends, you know, I don't have a ton of Blake stitching so far just because I've been doing a lot of the Goodyear and some of the stitch down. But as you get into it, what a lot of cobblers say is if it's done right, that the Blake stitch can be just as good as a Goodyear welt. And friends, this is fully resolable. Now that's something we're not doing a comparison video quite yet, but of course I have the Rossi boots and the Redback boots. Man, that outsole, it's on there. So when that goes out, the boot's done. Let me pull it off real quick. So I'm wearing my Redbacks, and this does not have a Blake stitch. So when this guy is done, when I wear through the outsole, this boot's done. So that's kind of the sad thing. I know there's people that have played around with it, but in no real way is this a resolable boot. So at any rate, this guy is. And now we're gonna move into the outsole in a minute, but just keep in mind, when you're looking at the cost of the boot and this and that, this one is resolable. You know, any good cobbler is gonna know how to do that. I was watching some other gentlemen's videos, and they were saying on a different boot made by Beckett and Simonon that it was really good construction. They actually thought that the stitching stopped maybe in here, and this part was fake, but all the way through. So I'm not sure if anyone's tore into this. I don't know if anyone's cut it in half or anything like that, but at any rate, has a Blake stitching, completely resolable. Pretty fun. I like that about it. Now we're gonna head out to the outsole. Now guys, this is, I think, where the boot lost me. Again, you can see this online, so I still went with it. But I think this is where they lost me a little bit just by the design. Now this isn't a rubber, it's a plastic foam, if you will. So that is why this boot is so dang lightweight. I would say, yeah, who knows? I think the Redback's a little bit heavier. At any rate, this is the EVA sole, and it's supposed to be a little bit anti-slip. It's not something that maybe would be approved in a restaurant wear or something like that. But as you get out kicking around, it's supposed to have a lot of traction. It's one of those things that I think has those air molecules. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. You know, the material breaks down after some time. So I think it's something that you want to make sure that you don't kick all the way to the back of your closet, but you keep it in some kind of rotation so that it'll last. But I just, you know, I really like the side profile. The side profile kind of looks like a nice lug outsole. Kind of reminds me of the Thursday boot Storm King for some reason, just from the side. Well, while we're talking about that, you can see it does have a bit of a heel. So when we're thinking about the arch, it does have a little bit there. But when you come down to the bottom, I feel like that's where they lost me a little bit. Looks like some ocean waves or something. Now, I'm not talking about traction. The traction might be fine. I'm just talking about merely design. So the fun thing is, I thought what might be cool down the road is to send this off maybe to my cobbler buddy or something like that. Maybe have like a Vibram mini lug, or I don't know, maybe we'll go crazy with it and do a 100 lug or something like that. But that's the fun thing, it's resolable. So, you know, we'll never know what we'll do with this. Make sure and subscribe and you'll see what kind of outsole ends up on this boot later on down the road. Thinking about outsoles and stuff like that, I did want to mention, you know, going back to the company and how they present themselves and how they work, they don't want a bunch of boots sitting on the shelf, and they don't want a bunch of raw materials going to waste. They don't carry like 50 of one size. Basically, this boot is made when you order it. So it's not a bespoke boot by any means, but they don't just have it sitting around. So in terms of the wait time, it's a few weeks out because they're actually going to build the boot for you. So when I got these, even these were built for me. That's not to say that you can't return them or exchange them. Of course, just like any boot company, try it on in your living room on the carpet and you should be good to go. But at any rate, guys, they are built for you, and that's some of the ethos of their company. They're trying to keep materials and supplies down, trying to keep their carbon footprint down. All that stuff is awesome, and I'm excited that that company is doing that. So in terms of cleaning these boots and caring for them, guys, grab your saddle soap or your Cobbler's Choice leather cleaner. Even if you have some Red Wing leather cleaner, that's what you have on hand, grab that. You know, clean the boots, give it 12 to 24 hours to rest, and then go back through and condition them. Just keep it going pretty regularly. I talk about learning and growing and understanding your leather, seeing what it wants and needs, and just don't let it get too far out of hand. It is a tough leather. It's a little bit thinner leather, so don't, you know, take that for granted either. It can handle some stuff, but it's not a full-on work boot. Just keep them clean, guys, and keep an eye on them. I end every video with don't forget to give those boots some love from time to time. Some of you guys might not do that enough, so just keep an eye on them. But I want to get into sizing a bit. So I got an American size 11, and I'm a 12 on a Brannick device, and I went with an 11. So I went a full size down, and I've been doing that a lot lately with a lot of boots. Again, I'm just under a 12 on one foot, and then a 12 on another, and then a 12 on the other foot. So 11 was the go for me, and that's where we get back into kind of the build quality and the construction. Now, guys, this has a rounded toe, and so believe it or not, this looks kind of like a slender boot, and I'll grab the red back just because it's here. It feels like it's going to be really slender and like I didn't have enough room. Again, this one might be a little too big for me, but the way they design it, your toe box actually is very roomy. I was surprised, especially on my left foot. My pinky toe kind of hits often, and that one felt really good there. So whatever they do, that was working for me. It gives me enough room right there at the pinky toe, and then it cuts in, and I still had plenty of room to wiggle my toes a little bit. Now the back at the heel was really cupping my foot. That was something that was interesting to me. Got a lot of boots going, guys. Check back my boot collection, 21, 22, yada yada, and I have a lot of boots going, and this was one that really caught my attention. And they talk about it on the fit, how it's supposed to fit. It kind of cups your heel, and I was nervous that that might be too much, but so far that's not the case. Now we're definitely going to get back into these things. Maybe when I do the cleaning video, definitely the 1 year review, we'll talk about that. This is kind of a new experience for me, so we'll see if, again, guys, I got 2 pair of boots from them. I can't wait to show you the other ones. They're a little bit more of a dressy boot, so I definitely needed some dressy boots in my collection as I'm preaching or doing weddings or just going out on town with my wife, you know, something to look very presentable in. I can't wait to show you guys that boot. But this one, I wanted a little bit more rough and tough, so that's where I went with it. And I just, you know, I'm excited to see this fit over the next year and see if it continues to cut my heel. They do say that it does stretch a bit, so we'll talk about that as well, how much it stretches. I don't expect that any boot should give a ton, and just based on the materials and the way it's built, I don't expect it to give a ton. So let me try to answer this in advance for you guys. If your foot's like falling asleep or something by grabbing your heel, guys, that's not good. So go ahead and get a size wider, a size longer, do what you need to do, but your foot shouldn't feel like it's crushing right out the gate. It should feel comfortable, maybe a little bit of room to stretch, but not much. So as always, friends, I love to answer any questions you have. You know, I try to cover as much as I can. If there's different things you want me to cover, maybe in the next video, certainly throw that in and I'll try to get to it. I think the price on these guys was right at $2.99. They run a bunch of sales and stuff like that, so See if maybe you can't, they just had a Memorial Day sale, see if maybe you can't catch something like that. But you know, so far I just can't say enough about this boot. I am really excited to style it with, of course, some skinny jeans and just see how it works in different outfits. They have 4 different colors. I was looking at a brown color. They sent me this black out, so I typically don't do as much black, and now I got a lot of black in my collection. Of course, my Rossi boots are black, but my other boots I got from them, man, I can't wait to show you those. So I won't give any more clues. You guys are gonna have to hang back for that. But guys, at this point in the video, there's nothing left to do than to take it out on a little adventure. So friends, we're over here at Ray Roberts State Park. And again, this place has so many trails. You can see the awesome water behind me. Wearing the Redbacks right now, but I really like these 2 pull tabs because that helps a lot to get them on. So again, it has a pretty slender profile, but there's a lot of room in the toe box. So looking at these, we're maybe not doing a side-by-side, but just this stays wide all the way back. Of course, they're a little frumpy now. Where I thought this pointy toe, they call it a round toe, which it is a round toe, but look at, I mean, compared to this guy, you can really see, you start to wonder if maybe this is going to be too small. Now friends, I've talked to you about these in the past. They are a little bit too big for me, and I don't know if that's because I bogged them or because they're just too big. So we don't know about that, but got these guys on, and there's some awesome trails to hit up today. We're not going to do all of them because I don't like to go crazy breaking in a pair of boots on the first run, but we're definitely going to get a couple miles done today. And there it is, friends, a little adventure with these boots. Now guys, I am enjoying the heck out of them. This is the first couple miles on these boots, so obviously we have a long ways to go. You know, I always feel a little different after the first hike, and then I put my boots on, go out for a couple miles, and then it's later when I take them off, I start thinking about it some more. I gotta be honest with you guys, I've had a lot of firsts and a lot of pairs of boots and a lot of miles trying out a new set of boots. My initial thoughts on these is they're really comfortable, and I think it's the right fit. So I'm feeling very secure. I have a firm footing under me, and it's just kind of cradling my heel like we talked about, and I still have plenty of room on that toe box. I've been thinking about my pinky toe. It's my left pinky toe for me that sometimes gets cut, you know, it gets hurting over there from the first wear. So far, so good. I expect some pain just because they're brand new and they are pretty snug. Loving these boots. I can't wait for you guys to see the 1-year review. So we got some time, obviously, for that to come through. Don't forget that Beckett and Simonon sent me some other boots. I can't wait to show you those. They're a lot dressier, so it's going to be really fun. I got to get creative with the little adventure because, you know, these ones have that great traction, really good outsole, so it makes for this kind of environment, but we might not be taking the dress shoes. Might go downtown, some city or something like that. Make it kind of fun. So a lot of stuff coming up on the Gentleman's Journey. Guys, we certainly can't do any of this without you subscribing and coming along for the journey. So, hey guys, God bless you. Until the next video, don't forget to give those boots some love from time to time.